Hello, friends. It's me, David White. Definitely not Jackson Chandler. However, I am just here to tell you that what you're about to listen to is an after party of Season 1. What do I mean by after party? What I mean by after party is this is an out-of-character discussion about all the plot threads and plot events of Season 1, and also a discussion of where we're going in Season 2 of Sins of the Father. If you have not listened to the full entirety of Season 1 of Sins of the Father, you might not want to listen to this episode yet. You might want to go listen to the whole Season 1 and then come back to this little discussion. Once you've done that, and once you're ready to enjoy this properly, I hope that you do enjoy this little after-party, out-of-character discussion of Season 1.
Season 1.
Woo! We did it.
Woohoo! Into Season 1!
End of season. Woohoo!
I never thought we'd do it. It went on forever. Not really, it was only 18 episodes.
True. Well, to be fair, it almost didn't happen at all, so there you go.
That's very true. It almost didn't happen twice.
True. But we did it. We got through it.
We got it done. When did we record
With
the
Phil?
very first? Let's check and see how long this has been coming.
Years? It's been over a year. It might be 2 years. Or close.
Oh, it's been. I would be surprised if it was only 2 years.
Go back to that original Sins of the Father.
No, I think it was only 2 years.
I think David's talking about like V1, not V2.
I know.
Well, V1 was February 9th, and I didn't write down the year.
Wow.
I know.
That had to have been
2019 is whenever...
That had to have been 2019, yeah, you're right. So it's been over 2 years.
2019.
Yeah, so 2019, because we recorded the first episode of Jackson's Sins of the Father on 9/27.
Of 2019, yeah.
Phil dipped out in early August of 2019.
Yeah.
That's right, because we only recorded... But we only got like a couple of recordings in.
Yeah. Did we get, I think it was 5?
I went back to the episode 0 folder from that first one. And David, your recording is called XXX Sephiroth 420 at rickett@AOL.com.
That was Jackson's, wasn't it?
No, that's David's.
That's David's?
That was mine.
Now
For the original one?
You would expect spicy titles from me for the recording.
I actually thought that was Jackson's.
True.
That's funny.
It's true. That is usually what Jackson does. So,
yeah, that's Jackson.
Yeah, whenever we did Cyberpunk, this is not about Sins of the Father, but when we did Cyberpunk, I think I named all 3 episodes after what Jackson titled his upload, his audio upload.
I think
there were some spicy ones in there.
Ones on that one. Oh man.
XXX420 at rickett@AOL.com.
Gosh,
yeah, I think I was asking, or I think we were having a discussion about what we should title the titles, and I think Phil said XXF420 at your character name at AOL.com.
And you actually did it.
And so I did it.
Yeah,
That's
you
so
had
funny.
Cyberpunk Enter the Edge, Cyberpunk 2 Edgelord Boogaloo, and
That's
Cyberpunk
right.
3 Revenge of the Edge.
Revenge of the
Yep.
Edge.
I named each Cyberpunk
So
episode
good.
after Jackson's uploads.
So good.
It was a trilogy.
So
it was
spicy.
a very cinematic universe.
It was. All right, but enough about
man.
Cyberpunk. Season 1 of Sins of
Indeed.
the Father. We
Heard about
did
Sins of the
it.
Father.
We found our dads.
We did it. We did find our dads. I was not expecting to find our dads in season 1, if I'm honest.
Not
When
at
we first
all.
started out. That too. I definitely didn't think
I
they would
wanted
all
to
survive.
keep you guys guessing until the very end on what was going to happen.
Good.
Definitely did.
That's
I
good.
thought they were going to be teleported away, or we would like see them and then they would be gone again. I
know.
did
I
not
would
expect
not
us
have
to,
been
like,
surprised if
end
they were
up
dead.
with them.
Very little shock
So
there.
you wanted to surprise Jacob.
Just didn't know how dark you wanted to go with it. It's like, we're gonna find them like chopped up somewhere.
Well, as soon as we walked up to that barrier too, I thought we were not getting through that barrier unless they died.
Ooh.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought like we were gonna be standing at the barrier, and then the barrier was gonna fall because Rickard fell and died.
Like he lost concentration or something.
Yeah,
By concentration, you mean consciousness.
And by
You've gone
consciousness,
unconscious
you
at
mean
the very least.
sentience
And
and
then-
life.
what are we gonna do? We can't bring him back.
True.
You can't cast True Resurrection yet?
Nope.
Chump.
Don't even have a cleric.
That's right. Yeah.
That's cool. So I guess this is just like a general time for us to like ask questions and share feelings and emotions from season 1. I came up with a list of questions to ask, but if anybody else has any questions for one of the other cast members or for Jackson, shoot.
David, why do you guys separate me like that? I thought I was one of the cast members too.
Separate but equal.
You are a cast
You're more
member, but you're
important.
like the director. Yes, you're a super cast member.
You're like, you could ask
Super
one of the
cast.
cast members, or Jackson.
Orange.
Or
Jackson.
Jackson.
No, or it's like or Jackson. Because you're so lofty and above
reverence.
us. In reference.
Why don't you start, David? Since you have a list.
Okay. I do have a list. So think back to when you created your character. I would like to know, was there like how was it creating your character? What was the original idea for your character, and did you have any inspiration for your character? Like any pop culture influences on your character or anything like that?
Yeah, I have a really obvious one. Well, it's not obvious, but
Yeah?
it just comes to mind like immediately. Which was, if anybody's played Overwatch, Doomfist.
Oh, nice.
And in fact, the inspiration that I came up with for us to give to the artist that did our character art was a something that the Overwatch team put out for what young Doomfist looked like. And that was a pretty strong seed for my conceptualization of Yabo.
Yeah, that's true. That was one of the images we sent that original artist. Dang, I went ahead and I looked up Young Doomfist spray, and it
it's
really
pretty close.
does. You can definitely see the inspiration for
sure.
Yabo. Yeah. No, that's cool. I forgot about your inspiration from Doomfist and Yabo. And also, Jacob, Yabo is pretty unique because you and I played in a game that you GM'd or DM'd, and Yabo was an NPC in that game as an adult.
I know, and I was really hoping that we would get to play like the next, which maybe we will still one day. That's, I mean, you know how slow moving that group in our, playing for 12, 15 years or however long it's been. We might still play, but I really wanted to give him a little more screen time. He wasn't supposed to be like a long-standing character. He's supposed to be like just someone to kind of, fill the void a little bit. But then I was like, holy shit, this is like, I really like this guy. And that in combination with like the Doomfist thing, I was like, he's going to be, David, I'm sure you probably have like a handful of, and Jackson, like toss in NPCs, which isn't to like, to take away from like their value or diminish them in any way, but just like really good, like solid NPC characters that you're comfortable with, just like throwing in on the fly that you can use like in any adventure. Yabo's definitely joined that cast list in my mind for any future games I might use. I don't know how that works canonically. Continuity issues.
Sure,
Canonical
cameo NPCs, as you could put it.
Yeah, there we go. We can call it that.
For Vartosh, I don't think I had a lot of conscious influence there. But once I started playing him, and once we really started getting into things, I was like, this is Draco Malfoy if he was a Dragonborn. He's kind of the rich kid, pompous jerk. But then kind of you get some more depth to him as you grow. So very much a different character. But yeah, I didn't consciously have that idea going into it, but it definitely evolved into that.
Well, RPGs are so cool because you can create a character and then they can grow past what your original idea for him was.
Yeah, Yavalia originally, my biggest inspiration was Vanellope von Schweetz from Wreck-It Ralph.
Ooh,
she was my biggest inspiration. I don't know why. I think that scrappy young girl thing, it's done so regularly, but just something about Vanellope, like, she was just like, I don't know, maybe because it's Sarah Silverman. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I did that, and then like later on I realized there were some like keynotes of Hermione Granger in there. Sort of with that sort of kind of the friend that's a girl that kind of is the one who's like, you're all idiots. So I think that's probably where that came in. And then other than that, I don't really know. She just sort of came with, I was like, I can make this sort of weird kiddish sounding voice. And I was like, I felt like I built the rest of the character on top of that.
That's cool. Straight up, the character Rickon from Fire Emblem was the very physical inspiration for Ricket. Because I don't know if I ever played the game with Rickon in it. Maybe I did, it's just been so long. But Rickon has a big floppy blue hat, and he's a wizard boy, and he has a big spell book, and he has big sad eyes. So that was kind of my original inspiration behind the character of Ricket. But then, like Christian was saying, I developed him past that. Like, he went past that original idea I had for him. But yeah, if you go look at Fire Emblem Rickon, it is embarrassing. It's embarrassing similar to Ricket.
That's fair.
And Jackson, we talked about all our characters. What was some inspiration for the story? Like, what inspired the elements of this story?
All right, in all honesty, most of my story beats were like spur of the moment. Within that week, I thought of them. I'm gonna be real with you.
A true
Do you
DM.
recognize any parallels with other media, though?
I don't know. I mean, it was a group of kids, so you always have to go kind of a little bit tropey with it. Mm-hmm. So they're on the whole, destiny. They're doing something that they don't quite know what they're supposed to be doing, but they're sent on this pretty fantastical journey to accomplish something that in the end they finally do.
I mean, I don't know if you were inspired by this, but I certainly saw it. And I know we spent a whole 30 seconds in Haravel, but it reminded me a whole lot of Midgar from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yeah, you want there's stuff Don't worry. There's a whole Final Fantasy VII plotline happening in Harville. You guys just left before it happened.
Hey, we might get to explore it in season
Yes.
2. Who knows?
Let's go back.
I'm just saying you need to get, most likely, another girl in the party who is like a flower girl or something, because... Spoiler alert, if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, which was released over 2 decades ago, Aerith fucking dies.
Yes.
I feel like Yuvali is much more of a
Oh my
Tifa,
God.
so that makes sense.
That's why I'm saying you need
I
to
was
find
gonna say
another
a
girl.
Yuffie.
Honestly, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I could see her
Yuffie.
as a mix of Yuffie and Tifa.
Yeah.
Well, you need the sweet, innocent one with the healing stuff that
That's
isn't
fair.
the brains of the operation.
We need a healer. No.
And Rickett is obviously Cloud in this whole situation.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Yes, he's 100%.
Vartosh is definitely Barrett, because he's the one with the gun.
Can I just be a chocobo?
I love the meme. I forget what it's from. Like it's the 4-panel format, and it's like, oh, you really think you're a Final Fantasy fan? Yeah. Well, name like this many Final Fantasy characters, and he just says Sid. It's like, okay, I set the bar too low.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Really, there's only 3 names you have to name. Sid, Wedge, and Biggs, and you've got them all.
It's true. That's like 90% of the lore.
That's like all of it,
is
yeah.
those 3 right there.
Do Wedge and Big show up in different...
They're in
Final
almost all the
Fantasies?
games, yeah.
Well, David,
Oh,
I
I
can
didn't
tell
know
you
that.
for sure that they are in the critically acclaimed award-winning Final Fantasy XIV MMO,
Yeah, they are. They're also fantastic.
which does feature a free trial up to level 60, including the award-winning Heavensward expansion.
True.
We are
It's
not
a
sponsored by
very
Final
fun
Fantasy
game,
XIV.
too.
That was very well articulated pitch, though. Square Enix, notice me.
So I have a question, and this one is directly for Jackson.
Ooh.
How did the Trove boys get back to the crew of the ship?
I guess you'll have to find out.
Oh
Because
my
there may be a
gosh.
story to tell there.
Oh,
That's fair.
there might be, huh?
That's fair.
He's gonna think about it this week.
Well, audience, if you haven't tuned in to Trove of the Iron Tyrant, you should listen to that story, because there is a very important plot point that happens right at the end of it
Indeed.
that
Yes,
deals
there is.
directly back into Sins of the Father, as well as Captain Lionheart's in it.
Oh, yeah.
What is this, a crossover episode?
I mean, sort of.
Literally.
But yes, to answer your question, there's a whole thing, because you guys were heading back to the port town, and Lionheart had washed up there. You meet him, stuff happens. You guys commandeer another boat because, you know,
Pirates.
pirates, am I right?
Anybody else got any questiones?
Yeah, I think we've covered it before, but I just kind of want to rub some salt in the wound a little bit and open up old wounds. How big of a pain in the ass was it whenever Yabo kind of murdered somebody in your big grand fantasy city?
All right, so audience, I don't know if you've heard me mention this 100,000 times. Pretty much all of season 1, I was planning on taking place in Harville. Episode 2 and 3, I quickly realized I had to abandon this entire vast city that we'd world schemed up.
Oh, man.
Or send 16-year-old Yabo to court and probably jail for cold-blooded murder.
And that's when Jackson learned his lesson and never planned again.
Dude, I see a Gabo, I throw the Spearo, okay? It's that simple.
But yes, David, there will be a whole Turks versus Avalanche situation.
Wonderful.
I'm here for it.
Oh man, that's gonna be a fun conflict for Vartosh.
I mean, if y'all decide to go back, if y'all decide to go back to Harville, you know, Yabo might have to learn a lesson from Evalia and have a very bad goblin makeup. to walk around the
Disguise
city.
himself as a goblin.
Like an intervention or something. Talk about your murderous ways of monstrous humanoids.
You can't do it anymore, all right? Quit it.
You just go around spearing gobos.
The gobos, the howler monkeys.
That one javelin that he lost when he threw it into the inky black void of death.
Dude, I like fed this family on howler monkey meat, all right?
And Death Dog.
I didn't see y'all putting any food on the table.
It's true. Yabo was a provider.
Hey, Vartosh just didn't eat for like 2 days. It's fine.
Did you guys know that that like mechanically, like the concept behind advantage is on average it adds about 3.5 to your roll? I didn't know that. I saw that today on Reddit. I was like, that's really interesting because it seems really powerful, right?
It's really not.
But it's actually not.
Joke's on you, statistics. I rolled 2 1s on my advantage roll.
It also does double your chances of nat 1ing and nat 20ing, though.
Yeah, true. What do you think about
like
the idea
in
of?
3.5. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, do you think double advantage and double disadvantage is like too cuckoo? I kind of like the idea, like an extreme. Like, for instance, if you're blind, I feel like disadvantage is not severe enough. Like double disadvantage, where you have to roll 3 essentially and pick the lowest.
And take the worst out of 3.
That's when you just do DM things behind the screens, like, okay, they have essentially total cover, which is adding 10 to their AC, and you're rolling disadvantage. You start to pull, like, weird, obscure rules out of the book.
That or, like, remove their proficiency bonus while they're blinded or something like that. That would be an interesting way of doing it, too.
You can roll percentile to see if they actually hit that person or hit something else.
Ooh, yes. Yes.
That makes fighting in the dark real crazy.
Or they could be a very cool old man Hawkeye from Old Man Logan, and he has super good hearing and can still shoot like crazy.
They have to have the blind
Bat.
fighter feat for that, though.
That is a fighting style
Yeah.
thing.
Really?
It's a fighting style.
You can have,
It's one of the new ones.
Yeah, you can have
That's
blind sight out to like 5 or 10
It's
feet.
10 feet, yeah.
Dope.
It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
So you can actually play like a blind monk or something. It's pretty neat.
That is very cool. I can finally play Matt Murdock.
But if you could only see out to 10 feet.
Yeah. Which is pretty
I'm okay with it.
rough.
I'm okay
You
with
don't have echolocation.
Watch me.
I mean, you could still have good hearing.
I'll find it.
Tremor sense.
Honestly, having blind sight at all is so strong
It's true.
as a PC.
But speaking of tremor sense, that Kruthic though.
That Kruthic, though, man.
The Kruthic.
I
It survived.
am so interested for that thing's growth. How are you just gonna take a Kruthic around? Like, what are you gonna do with it?
Yeah. I truthfully don't know. So that thing's gonna get big quick.
Uh-huh.
He's gonna be chonky.
He's gonna be chonky. So
Big chungus.
Big Kruthics.
So I think is it male? That's the question. Too.
You don't know.
It's bug. It's Kruthic.
Is
They
bugs
don't really have
You don't know the biology. You would know how to check.
they
They
don't really
reproduce
have defined
asexually.
sex organs or things. They're indiscriminate. Bugs.
So I think probably once it's too big to ride in her pack, she'll probably let it follow her around like a dog. Or lead it around by a leash, because I don't know if it's truly like to the point where, it's gonna like follow, right? But I think eventually it's going to be horrific, and it's going to be, my intent was for it to be a mount. She's like,
It'd be
gonna
the most
ride it.
terrifying sight.
God.
Yes.
Imagine the
It's just
town
like
on
this,
it.
like, just this like sweet, cute woman riding a Kruthic
Giant
into battle.
skeleton spider thing.
College of Nightmare Bard riding a Kruthic.
It's honestly perfect, though.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's going to be something that's definitely going to affect her, because trying to have that thing around, but she also, she's going to level up some. Maybe she gets some new spells. Maybe she can, make it look like something else, as she goes around town.
So Marlo just permanently has used one spell slot.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a social interaction setting.
Permanently one spell slot's always used. Yep.
That Kruthic, totally imprinted on you.
The baby.
After you murdered its mother.
Yike.
The mother. Your mother now.
It was a very power move. I murdered your mother. Now you're mine. And you just put it in your backpack.
Yeah, that's awful.
Oh, man.
So I don't know what it's going to be named either. And Tony has been bothering me about what is the Kruthic's name. And I don't know yet. So maybe I'll put up a poll, or maybe we could put up a poll or something to hype us for season 2. What's its name?
Crunchy.
Name the Kruthic.
Just
Crunchy.
make a straw poll.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, just put it up after the last episode drops. Be like, hey, it's still alive. Who wants to name it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think we've mentioned it on mic yet, but Jackson, what's the time gap between season 1 and season 2?
It's, small, measly. 3 years.
It's not small or measly.
Yeah.
Wait.
So all our kids are going to grow up, and that Kruthic is going to grow up.
Hopefully not to Hive Lord size. That would be terrifying.
Yeah, good lord. We'd have to empty out the hold of the Gilded Gorgon so we can have this Hive Lord Kruthic down there.
Hive Lord Kruthics are scary, man.
Yeah.
I have never encountered a Kruthic before this game, before Jackson.
Get ready for a lot more of that, my guy.
Get ready.
He's going to pull out some obscure junk.
Oh, I know. He already has.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's pulled out a couple of homebrews, too.
The obscure stuff is where I thrive.
Hey, that's good, though.
Yeah.
I like the obscure stuff, too.
No, I like it. Because, we could fight goblins and dragons and hobgoblins all day and be like every other D&D podcast out there. Or we can encounter a Kruthic and make it our puppy. And now we're unique.
True dat. And murder a civilized hobgoblin in the first episode. Second episode.
And you're playing as children.
And we're playing children.
Yes, that is also a uniqueness.
We're playing preteens now.
Yeah.
Actually, with 3 years, we're probably teenagers, most of us.
Yeah.
I think, I was about to say, I'm a teen. Rickett is now a teen. I think, oh gosh, I need to go check and see how old he is. But also, now that we're no longer kids, now that we're going to be teens, we're going to get a new stat line. So we're actually going to be a little bit better, a little bit closer to like the real average ability score line.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
Me too. Also, having a proficiency in a gun means that I'll actually be effective with it and won't miss every shot in an entire episode. So there you go.
Hey, but it worked. It didn't work.
It made sense that
realistically,
it didn't.
no, it didn't work because the gun didn't work. But from a narrative perspective, it really was a growth for
It kind of
Bartosz,
taught him
so-
that he's not going to be good at everything the second he picks it up.
Yeah,
and he
from
kind of
narrative
had grown up that way. So, yeah.
Here's my next question. What was the best and the worst moment for your characters in season 1? So what was your happy and what was your crappy for your characters throughout season 1?
Do you mean like it's for the character, not for us? Like
For the character, not for you. We can also do like what was your happy and crappy, but like what was Evalia, Vartash's, Ricketts, and Yabo's highs and lows Their best moment and their worst moment.
I'll put a little spin on that and say you can't use seeing the dads again because that is everyone's collective happy moment.
That's a good point.
That's fair.
Outside
That's
of
fair.
that
Good
moment.
point. And it was bittersweet.
Yeah. I think Ricketts high was in the maze when, oh gosh, well, okay, now I'm stuck between two. When y'all fought the nightmare monster again, and Rickett was tearing it up with the magic missiles, and he was very powerful, and he was helping the team, and he was saving the team. But then again, being in the room with the murals and doing comprehend languages and all of that, I think that would have been Ricketts high, was reading this language and piecing together this mystery as if he was a main character in one of his mystery books. I think that was his high. And his low was definitely all the events that led up to the murder of the Hobgoblin and them getting on the Gilded Gorgon. Just this rapid spiral into criminality and despair. It was very shell-shocking for poor little Rickett.
I mean, we all know episode 2 was all about just Rickett being sad.
It's true.
True.
So obviously, Yabo's low was murder.
But was it from his point of view?
Yeah. Did Yabo
Nah, he doesn't really.
feel that low?
That's the world's view, but his is probably whenever he thought Nunu was dying. That sucked.
Oh, yeah.
And a high was probably feeling like he was actually fighting the Kraken monster thing when he was like smacking it, when it was like there was like a tentacle on the ship, and really feeling like he was making a difference against this like titanic being.
Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think for Yuvalia, I think her lowest moment was when she thought her father was dead in the last episode. She like lost it and used up all of her spell slots. So
Right.
that was useless. I mean, it really was one of those moments where it was a role-playing choice. I knew it was a bad choice, but I did it anyway because it was a role-playing choice. So that was her low. And then I think her high, I don't know, her highest moment was probably getting the Kruthic. I really feel like that, like, that or when they killed the thing in the labyrinth in the maze, the like sewer monster, because it kind of made her realize that like she's not as fragile and a little child as she thought she was. She's competent. Whether that's really true or not, but she felt like she was. She was like, everything that has bothered me over the past month and some change, it was not a big deal. Like, I have been dreaming about this thing, it's been bothering me, and now what? For what? So,
Right.
I don't know if she would have felt like it was her high, but I feel like it was the moment that was the most growth for her.
Yeah, definitely.
Fair enough.
I think we know... I was going to say, I think we know Vartosh's
The only
low.
high
We know
that I can
Vartosh's
think
low.
of.
There's a lot of them.
I think Vartosh has 2 lows that were also kind of his biggest growth points too. But the only high I can really think of for Vartosh was probably the first 30 seconds of being on the Gilded Gorgon. Just walking onto that pirate ship, having the captain impressed with him because he managed to steal that painting. And then as soon as that 30 seconds was over and he became the cabin boy, all that failed. But that first 30 seconds walking onto the Gilded Gorgon, just that feeling, I'm finally making it. This is my start to being a pirate. That was definitely his biggest high. His biggest lows, the big one, of course, was the second encounter with the sewer monster. It was also Christian's low. But it was also his biggest opportunity for growth as well. He just realized in that moment that he was thinking he was useless. What was the point of everything? He came down here just to die. But then, out of seeing his newfound compatriots manage to take down this thing, he realizes that like he can't do it alone, and he needs these people to protect him, just like they need him to help protect them. So that's definitely that moment where he flipped a switch in his head. And this switch had started to move a little bit with the Death Dog encounter, because he went down in that pretty close, came close to coming down in that one, and had that poison that was pretty severe. Could have been really bad. So yeah,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Since Christian mentioned it, the whole going down thing, I didn't really want to kill one of the children in season 1. But going forward, I make no promises. The story is about to get a lot more like serious and life-threatening.
Yeah. Wow, season 2,
So,
different sins of the father.
Look forward to that.
yeah. I think Vartosh is also, if I may be reaching here, but I think Vartosh is probably the only child that came out of this with permanent like damage, because that Death Dog left permanent scarring on his scales. So it's definitely one of those things that he's come out of this very changed from when they went into it.
Inner damage.
Mental damage,
emotional damage. Definitely.
Emotional damage, yes. We all have that.
And talking, kind of combining what the two things we just talked about, Jackson, I can think of 2 specific instances where we had like a big kind of combat-esque encounter, but we never dropped into initiative. The first one was the sewer monster in episode 3, and then again with the betrayer in the last episode. So I wanted to, this isn't like accusatory, like why did you, but why'd you make that choice? Like, why were those 2 fights not initiative combat encounters?
I don't want to be accusatory, but accusation.
Yeah.
It's not accusation,
main...
it's a question.
Yeah, the main reasoning behind it is more of, with those 2 encounters, it wasn't so much as the kids versus a threat, like something they can actively fight and defeat, whereas the monster or the betrayer in these instances were more of like a hazard. Like, they weren't active, like, oh, you have to delete it to this much HP. It's more of a like, how can you fix this issue or this problem, or how are you going to react to what's happening in a more like critical thinking, problem solving way, is how I was approaching it, to see what you guys could come up with, seeing something that may or may not be impossible to defeat.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, man. I thought for sure Vartosh was going to get out of there with that with the heart at the end of it.
The crystal heart.
Crystal? I can't remember what it was at the end there.
Crystal heart?
That's right, yeah. I thought for sure, I was like, if we stand here long enough and Vartosh can just run, he's gone.
The whole way that the betrayer knew what was happening and where this thing was that I forget the exact name of the spell, locate object. Like, that is specifically why the betrayer showed up when they did. Was because the crystal itself came into existence on the plane you guys were on.
Yeah. And that makes total sense.
That's cool. And I have one question that I have wanted to ask I think since like we started Sins of the Father, because I was like, oh, I know. Whenever we have this after party, this is like the question I want to ask. So if we went back in time, we were creating our characters, and you didn't create the character you are playing now, what character would you have made? Not like which of the other characters at the table in the cast you would have played, but like if you weren't playing your character, did you have a secondary character you almost decided to play, or like after you started playing, were you like, oh man, I should have like done this character. Oh well, I'll do this character. Well, like if you weren't playing your character, what character would you be playing right now? Who would you be playing?
Ooh.
Or was it always that character?
I feel like I never even had like another thought. Like I was pretty in love with the idea from the get-go.
It does feel very natural.
I definitely had a barbarian in mind.
Really?
I definitely did. But then I found out that, yeah, I really did. I had a like Viking barbarian that I had played in another game. Yeah, and I was like, oh, she'd be great as a kid. Like, what would this character be like as a kid? So yeah, that was what I originally had in mind. But then, well, I mean, I was like, well, I gotta come up with something else. Can't have two barbarians. I mean, I guess we could have, but
Totally could have. Yeah, Vartosh was always gonna be a pirate. I did think that immediately, but I'd kind of gone back and forth with like doing a gunslinger, but then I kind of thought if he's a child, immediately starting with a gun and being a gunslinger doesn't make a lot of sense. So I kind of went with he's just kind of this sneaky pickpocket. He's got some skill in just messing with people. And so I went rogue from there. With the thought of maybe taking on some feats that would give me the ability to use firearms later. And then Swashbuckler just makes sense, obviously. So.
Cool. Well, as the person that is like eternally the dungeon master, I had 3 besides Rickett. And eventually I decided on Rickett, but the first one I had was a Tiefling Monk who was going to be like a street urchin. He's just going to be like this dirty street tough that always had to fist fight his way out of his problems, and he's looking for his dad, and like he lives with his mother. His mother is living in the poor district of Harvell, and like his father is somewhere up in the upper echelons. He's like some sort of nobility, and so he's like, I'm gonna find my dad and beat his ass and take his money. So that was one character I had in mind. And then the second character I had was a character that kind of lived on the fringes of society, and he had nobody. I wouldn't know like if his parents had died or just left him or abandoned him or anything, but his only companion in the world would have been his dog, and he would have been a ranger with animal companion, and it just would have been like this little kid who's like has a rough exterior but a very sweet heart, and he doesn't want anybody to see it, and he just has this dog that he loves with every fiber of his being. And so that was the other character I had. He was going to be a human ranger. And then the third character actually wasn't my character, but a little behind the scenes, in the original Sins of the Father, there was going to be another player at this table, and it was actually somebody from Jacob and I's original group. Well, Jacob, Phil, and I's original group. John was going to be on this show. And John, we talked about, we had a character idea for John, and then he had to drop out. But John's character idea was he was going to be a fighter with the ability to cast Shillelagh on his like wooden stick, and he was going to like flavor it to be him channeling Shillelagh was like his father's fighting spirit coming into the wooden stick. So that wasn't my character idea,
cool.
but that was going to be one of the kids in the original Sins of the Father, and unfortunately he's in the army and couldn't join us. But yeah, there's a little tidbit, a cool, interesting tidbit for y'all.
I'd also thought about being a caster, because casting is my jam.
And I'm usually martial classes, and this is the first time I've ever played a wizard.
I'm playing a wizard for the first time in 5e, in another campaign.
Nice.
So I feel
But did you take mage armor?
I did, because I'm playing
You both are cowards.
I'm playing a blade singer. If I
You
don't take
both
mage armor, I'm a dummy.
Are cowards.
But I want that nice, beautiful 22 AC.
I
dude.
want to live every social or combat encounter with the threat of death staring me in the face.
You're a madman.
I play wizards with negative constitution and no mage armor.
You're a madman.
David and Christian can both attest to this. We had a Curse of Strahd game where I played
That's
that
right.
exact
I forgot.
thing.
Yeah.
But did I
Just
die?
stayed back and never got hit.
But did I die?
No, because you
never
never
did.
got hit.
And less defensive
targeted.
spells? I had better cool spells.
Cool spells.
Does anyone have a favorite episode that they can think of?
Ooh.
Mine was the sewer. 100%.
Yeah, mine is too. Yeah. Close.
I think both episodes with the sewer monsters are my favorites now.
Close second was the episode with the worm's wife. Was it
Where we like found it
the
crashed.
third episode or fourth episode? Yeah.
When we were under the ship, yeah.
After the death dog.
Yeah.
That was a good one too, yeah. That was actually a really interesting episode, yeah.
I think my favorite was whenever we were in the panel room looking at the different murals from different heroes, and I don't know, that felt good.
That was a very cool one.
I don't like to brag on myself, but I liked how I described Ricketts' comprehend language spell. It felt good to me, and I was like, yes, I like this, I dig this. But I also think that was I just think that was cool.
That's one of my favorite moments.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like editing that moment, the description and the like sound effects that went along with it. It just like the way that it came together, it just was like auditory, like from an auditory perspective, phenomenal. One of the best scenes, moments.
For sure.
That and the sewer. Those are like my two from an editor's perspective. Those were like top parts. There's a ton of really great like edited content there, but those two things just chef's kiss.
Pat yourself on the back.
You being
Marlo.
a horror fan, you were able to really play with that a lot with that third episode too, with the sewer.
Yeah, definitely.
That was also your first episode to edit, because I edited the first two.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know. You know, and I thought about that recently. I haven't gone back and listened to it in a while. But it came out pretty good. Came out pretty dang good.
It was your first editing of anything, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty much. Which is impressive because it turned out amazing.
I know. I'm gifted. What can I
It was
say?
very good.
I mean,
Yeah, you're gifted. You have a gift.
when Christian and I worked together, the amount of times he told me he listened to that episode.
Aw,
It was like
he
it was like
stands
10
me
times.
as much as I stand him.
It's
Aw.
true.
He's right. It's true. No, it was like 10 times in the first
And I'm
week.
like, Christian, please stop.
Well, hold on, because I listened to the rough cut. I listened to the edited audio, and then I listened to each time you updated with new with a new version. I listened every single time, and then after, like, before it even released, I listened to it again like 3 times because it was just so good.
Well, that's why when I edit them, as I get through different like stages of editing, I tell the Sins of the Father chat rather than just the editor chat, because I'm like,
Yeah,
I know
appreciate that
I
a
know
lot.
they listen to this more often than I think they do, so I'm gonna give it to them early. Specifically for you.
Anytime it's mentioned, I listen to it. I tell you, within a day.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to a single episode of our show fully edited.
Yeah, well,
I'm here for the recording, and that's it. That's where my
Here's the
support
thing.
ends.
that is a Misconceptions podcast network tradition at this point. We have you and Jaime to thank for this.
Yeah. They show up to record and then never listen to the show.
It's true.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Let's go around
But I
and
think
say like
every
what our favorite
D&D
moment.
group has that.
Oh, definitely. I was gonna go around and say like what was your favorite moment that Marlo edited, and then I was like, well, only Christian and I listened to the episodes.
That's true.
I mean, hey.
Oh.
Oh man. Honestly, one of my favorite moments in editing though was when we first met the tentacle thing on the boat when it destroyed the ship.
Oh, yeah.
That whole sequence was so well done.
It was a good one.
Yeah. The voice changes you put on Jackson. Yeah. Perfect. I mean, Marlo knocks it out of the park with every single episode she does, but my favorite Marlo edit actually isn't from the regular Sins of the Father. It's from the Misconception Sins of the Father crossover, whenever the transition happens from the city to the sewer. When I listened to it for the first time, I actually got goosebumps because of the transition effect that Marlo put on. And I think I messaged you and said, "Oh my gosh, I have I have goosebumps from that transition."
Yeah.
That would be my favorite Marlo edit.
I love that. I love it when I can play with those like bops of sound, like suspenseful like string noises, or playing with a sort of like wind howling sound. Anything that I can add ambiance or add a pump of drama to something. That's when I'm gonna do it. Because for me, I listen to it, I close my eyes, and I just sort of like, can I see it? Am I creating a theater of the mind here with the sound effects? Because everyone's so good at describing things. Honestly, across the board, everyone on there, I just get so impressed with everyone, their descriptions and all that stuff. But then adding in that sound effect, punching it up, not only are you seeing it in your mind's eye, but you're hearing it with your mind's ears. And so that's what I like about it. I think, and I thank you guys for saying all that. I really appreciated it. It's a labor of love for sure.
Okay, but real, who was excited to keep fighting the super evil, tentacle boy?
Yes.
Who thought that was gonna be big bad?
So, I thought at first it was going to be, but once we got to that tapestry room, I was like, something else is happening here.
As Christian has figured out from different things, I do not put in a detail without it somehow coming back in a campaign.
It's true.
I was ready to lay the smackdown on that monster. I was like, I'm ready. Now we're gonna finally fight it. We're gonna fight it side by side with our papas. We're gonna annihilate this thing.
Yeah.
It did not happen, but that's okay.
No.
I get the feeling this is a generational thing. The feeling that it's never gone away before, and hopefully these kids, my hope is that they'll be able to take it out all the way, for the last time.
Right.
Just want you guys to think about this real quick. Just put this in your mind to just plot over. The tentacle monster is no more.
Oh, because of the betrayer.
The betrayer. The cycle is broken.
Right. See, I wasn't sure if it wasn't like a Diablo style thing where they take the crystal and they jam it in their forehead and they become the thing.
No. The betrayer is not the prime evil arc terror sin.
Well, that's good. Yeah, for sure.
Also, food for thought just to think about. Was your group of fathers, like this bloodline, the only group of heroes in the entire world?
For this particular creature, maybe.
But that mark, to think about the mark. Are you guys the only people that have this? Just think about that.
This is true. Could be something we explore in another side arc.
Okay, but can we wrap this up? I'm tired.
Okay. Well, as we wrap up the end of season 1, and before season 2 starts, we do have a bit of sad news, and that news is Jacob will unfortunately not be joining us for season 2. This was his final episode, and Jacob, I just wanted to hand it over to you real quick. Don't give us your explanation or spiel or anything, but just want to hand it to you if you wanted to say anything, any last words to the fans and listeners of the show before you go.
Yeah, I've had a tremendous amount of fun. I mean, heck, even the stuff that you guys don't see, like the meme game is just outstanding in this Discord chat and in the Facebook Messenger and all that. I will miss that tremendously, as well as the D&D, obviously, but we came for D&D, we stayed for the memes. But, no, I'm very grateful for everything you guys have put in, for letting me be a part of it so far. I can't wait to hear what happens in season 2 when those episodes come out. Look forward to it a great deal. And I wish you all the very best. And I've had a lot of fun.
We wish you the best too, man. It's been great.
Yeah. It has been great getting to play with you consistently again.
Yeah, just like the good old days.
Yeah. Well, as Yabo sails off into the distance and season 2 begins, Jackson, do you want to leave our listeners with any tidbits, any tantalizing details to look forward to about season 2?
All I can say for sure, audience, friends, listeners, however you want to be addressed, my children.
Sinners? Is that our fan base? The sinners?
We'll have to think about that. We can put a poll up in the Discord and see what people want to be called. War is on the horizon.
Dumb. What a stinger for season 2. All right. Thanks for a great season 1, everybody. Jacob, we are going to miss you a whole hell of a lot. And listeners, thank you for listening and supporting us. All right, Jackson, take us out.
Okay, well, thank you for listening. It's been a heck of a journey. We love you all. Thank you for all of the support. And we can't wait to get started on the next arc of this story. And we're very excited for all of you to get to listen to it as well. But until then, keep rolling crits. End of season.
Boom.